All right, so we're doing a little bit of a different video, solo content, just because I wanted to talk about some of the dark horses that we could see at the NCAA Championships. Um, there's not really like a formal definition in terms of what people, what is a dark horse. Just really somebody that people aren't talking about, and someone that's not really that expected to be able to pull off a performance and maybe finish on the podium. So I put together an article, really just one person per each weight, but there's more than that. I mean, there's probably a handful at each weight. Maybe there's none at some weights. I don't know. But I mean, I used the rough definition of if you're in the bottom half of the seeds. So if you're seeded 17th or below, you could be considered a dark horse. And then based off of that, one per weight, put together a quick list. And I wanted to run through it. So at 125, we got Brendan McCrone, who's the 20 seed. Now, if you guys have been following the Big Ten action, you know that earlier in the year he pinned Luke Lillidahl, who's the 1 seed, and took out Matt Ramos. So that's a notable win. He's taken his lumps this year. He's 21-9, and he's the 20 seed. So not a terribly low seed. Definitely could see him finishing, on the podium, but he's got a high ceiling and a low floor. So if he can kind of keep that floor a little bit higher, we'll see what happens. 133, Kai Areen. He's, I believe, a two-time All-American for NC State. He's the 26th seed this year. He's 13-7 so far. He has not had a great year. I believe he started out at 141 and dropped back down to 133. NC State was kind of spending some time figuring out what their lineup would look like. But he's a 26 seed. I think, two of his losses are to Connor McGonigal, the 6th seed. He's got a loss to Ethan Oakley. I think he can find a way onto the podium. He's very dangerous. So he's another guy where, you shouldn't feel safe if you're wrestling him. He's explosive in a lot of positions. So I'd keep my eye out for a guy like Kyrene. 141. I had a little bit of a tougher time here because it feels like the bottom half of the bracket's a little more figured out. Bottom half being after the 16 seed. It just feels like some of these guys have not really shown much promise to like crack into the top tier. But I went with Josh Saunders. He's the 20 seed. He had an 18-6 record this year. His best win is Josh Edmond, that's a good win. But Cornell's also, they have not gone to, or they have not had a lot of high level competition. They went to CKLV. Saunders lost to Sam Latona, and then he lost to Columbia's, I think it was Kai Owen. So, been a quiet season for Cornell overall, but Josh Saunders, somebody who's had lots of high school high level success, and he made a world team this last summer. So, somebody who I could definitely see having a great NCAA or great finish to his NCAA season because this is his last year. So, 149, a little bit of a gimme, honestly, because it's Teague Travis. He's the 33 seed because his only competition at 149 was at the Big 12 Championships, but he went out and he got an automatic qualification. He stole an allocation from somebody, I can't remember who exactly, but he lost to Paniro Johnson and Gavin Drexler. If he wants to finish on the podium, those are the types of guys that he has to beat. But earlier in the year, if you don't know the story, Teague Travis started out at 157. I think he wrestled 2 matches. And one of them was a loss to Ethan Styles, who, if you've been paying attention, also dropped down to 149. Has had a pretty great performance at that weight. So I think if Teague Travis is at that level still, and Ethan Styles at the same caliber as Ethan Styles down at 149, he can shake things up and kind of show some promise and help that Oklahoma State team bring home a second place finish, which is really what I think the whole team is trying to accomplish aside from their individual goals. So 157, another veteran from the Wolfpack, Ed Scott. He's the 22 seed, 13-6 record this year. He's kind of had this. He doesn't go out and perform for the entire season. He was around a 12 last year and 3 years ago, but 2 years ago he finished 6th. He was an All-American. So he just kind of seems like the guy who's going to show up for the tournament that matters. I believe he lost to Hippolito at ACCs, but I mean, he's always been tough. He's an M2 kid from PA. I keep an eye out on him. So 165, Tyler Lillard, 27 seed, 19-10 season record. Had a little bit of a slower start to his season. Probably his best performance has been Midlands. He took out Max Mayfield, took out Hunter Garvin, and won it, which is a good sign. If you want, if you want to see somebody do well at a wrestling tournament, then like NCAAs, and they do well at Midlands, it kind of correlates a little bit. But being in the 27 seed, I think his first match is Mantanona, and he lost to Mantanona earlier in the year, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough path for him to navigate, but he's super tough, and he's tricky to wrestle with. Very comfortable in underhooks, so keep an eye out on him. But yeah, 174. Kind of had a hard time picking here, but I decided to go with Jared Sima. Another option would have been Dan Bronigal, who beat Carson Hartzler twice at Big Tens, and he had a slower start to his season, but is starting to peak at the right time in the postseason. So I'd keep an eye on him, but I went with Jared Sima for one of my dark horses. He's the 19 seed. He's 17-12. If you remember last year at NCAAs, he got in on an at-large bid, and there was some contention over should it be him or should it have been Bubba Wilson. He got the job done, and then I believe he took out, I think it was the 5th seed, which was Canigliaro, I think is how it went down, and then he was wrestling Shane Griffith in the quarters and kind of had him beat, but Shane came back in the third period to get that win. But I mean, man, when you're that close to finishing on the podium, because I can't remember who he wrestled on the backside after that, but lost in the blood round. When you come that close to finishing on the podium, you got to assume that they're able to do it again. And a 17-12 record, Northern Iowa has put their wrestlers through the paces. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens for him. He's a Kansas kid, so there's a little bit of bias there, but rooting for him. So 184, DJ Washington. He's a 22 seed, 13-8 season record. It's a senior season, and this is something that I factor in because I think seniors kind of have a tendency, and it's weird because if you're a senior and you haven't had a lot of success, but you're at NCAAs for your last, this is your last folk style competition ever. I kind of see seniors have a tendency to let it fly and wrestle more freely. So I'm hoping to see that out of DJ Washington. And if you know his career, you don't even need to know his career really. If you know Carter Starachi's career, Carter's got 2 losses. One's Michael Kemmerer, and the other is DJ Washington. So he's shown that he can beat the literal best, the pound for pound. I guess maybe he's number 2 with Stevenson, but a guy who's going for his 5th NCAA title. DJ Washington's got a win over him. So, I mean, I think he should be able to go out there and compete with anybody. I mean, he's got Gabe Arnold in the first round, and we'll see, as a fellow Hoosier, I'm rooting for him. So, all right, 197, got Michael Delegata. He's a 27 seed. He's got a 14-4 season record. 2 of his losses are Luke Stout. One of them is to Christian Knopp, and then I think it was a medical forfeit for his 4th. I haven't seen a lot, and I don't think anybody has really. So I don't know what to expect, but I think he'll do better than the 27 seed. So that's kind of my justification for where I went with this pick. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. 285, Lance Runyon. He's the 18 seed. He has a 16-7 season record. This one felt weird because I feel like Lance has had a pretty phenomenal year. He's got losses to Trumbull, Schultz, Hendrickson, Herrera. He lost to Herrera twice. One of them was at Big 12s, and the other one at Big 12s was to Luke Rasmussen, who had a great tournament. I think he finished 3rd, which was great for him. But this put Runyon in need of a bid. And typically, even if you have a great season, if you need an at-large bid to get into NCAAs, your seed gets punished heavily. So I think that's why he's in the seed that he's in, but even with a heavyweight class like this, a heavyweight weight class, I think he's a guy who can finish on the podium. It's tough, but I think he's someone who's able to do it. Now another I guess an honorable mention, Dark Horse, kind of. This is weird. This is a weird one to call it because by the metrics it counts, but Ja'Cory Teemer's, I think he's the 18 seed or something like that. But he's a returning NCAA finalist, a multiple time All-American, and I mean, he was great. So if he's able to get through these injuries that he has right now, yeah, consider that one too. But I mean, we all know the name Ja'Cory Teemer. So yeah, that's what I have for Dark Horse picks. Let me know if you have any other Dark Horses that I didn't really count here or didn't really mention. But yeah,